In the spring of 2021, Marjorie Bloom, a 77-year-old retired civil servant, anxiously awaited a phone call that never arrived. Over the past month, she had followed the advice of someone she believed was a trustworthy confidant, wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars into cryptocurrency. This individual claimed to be a fraud investigator at PNC Bank, where Marjorie had been a loyal customer for years. Under the guise of protection, the investigator convinced Marjorie to liquidate her entire nest egg, which included savings, stocks, and an annuity, amounting to a staggering $661,000. He warned her that criminals armed with her stolen personal data were in the process of siphoning off her life savings. To safeguard her funds, he insisted that she had to act swiftly and discreetly, refraining from informing anyone, including her own children, as it might jeopardize their efforts. Tragically, the convincing investigator turned out to be a scammer, and Marjorie became ensnared in what is known as a tech support scam. This type of fraud is alarmingly common and primarily targets older adults. In 2022 alone, older adults fell victim to tech support scams amounting to $588 million, as reported by the FBI. These scammers persuade their victims that their computers are under serious threat, often pretending to be technicians from reputable companies, and then coerce them into wiring money to fraudulent accounts. As Marjorie eagerly awaited instructions on accessing her supposedly secured life savings, hours slipped away without a call. Growing increasingly anxious, she tried to reach the investigator, only to discover that his number was disconnected. When she contacted PNC Bank, the institution had no record of the supposed employee. It was then that Marjorie realized the grim truth. She had been defrauded of everything. Marjorie's heartbreaking experience shines a light on the troubling reality. As technological advancements continue to evolve and financial systems become increasingly complex, older Americans are increasingly vulnerable to financial fraud. In 2022, individuals aged 60 and older lost a staggering $3.1 billion to cyber fraud, marking an 84% increase from the previous year. This trend has shown a ninefold increase in just 5 years, with losses totaling $342 million in just 2017, according to the FBI. However, these stats are based solely on reported incidents, and the actual extent of the problem may be even more significant. Older adults who have often saved diligently throughout their careers for retirement are particularly susceptible to these scams. In addition to retirement savings, they may possess other assets such as home equity, social security payments, pension checks, and in some cases, life insurance payouts. The emotional toll of financial fraud can be devastating, impacting victims both financially and emotionally. Tech support scams, a subset of call center frauds, overwhelmingly target older adults, with approximately half the victims aged 60 or older and accounting for 69% of the total financial losses in this category. In 2022, nearly 18,000 Americans aged 60 and over reported falling victim to tech support scams, more than any other type of elder fraud, with losses ranging from $33,000 to over $1 million each in some cases. In Marjorie's case, her computer froze suddenly in April 2021, displaying a pop-up window instructing her to call customer support, supposedly affiliated with Microsoft. Tragically, she made the crucial mistake of calling the number, an action that legitimate tech companies would never require. During the call, a fraudulent Microsoft engineer falsely claimed that her computer had been hijacked by foreign hackers who had also stolen her sensitive personal data, including her financial account information. When Marjorie mentioned her banking association with PNC, the con artist transferred her to another accomplice pretending to be a PNC fraud investigator. This individual convinced Marjorie that her bank account was under imminent threat from pending fraudulent transactions totaling $29,000, compelling her to move her money to a new account. However, none of this was true, and Marjorie fell victim to the scam. The scammers used a hijack technique, a psychological technique that exploits strong emotional reactions to overwhelm rational thinking. This technique tends to be particularly successful with older individuals. Factors like being home more often, using landlines, and limited familiarity with technology make older adults vulnerable targets. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the risks for older adults by forcing them indoors and onto the internet, resulting in a surge of exploitative practices targeting this demographic. While Marjorie's resilience is evident in her previous accomplishments, the scam took a significant toll on her emotional and financial well-being. Before realizing she had been defrauded, Marjorie had made 5 wire transfers within 28 days, totaling $661,000. This included liquidating a stock portfolio she had inherited from her parents worth over $400,000, and most of the annuity exceeding $200,000. Had she retained the annuity, it would have provided her with a guaranteed monthly income of around $2,700 for the next 3 decades, starting in 2023. This loss was a devastating blow to Marjorie's retirement plans. Her immediate concerns were twofold: the profound disappointment of squandering the reserves she had intended to pass on to her children, and the impact on her own financial security. Marjorie now relies on regular checks from a federal pension and Social Security as her primary sources of retirement income. While these funds cover her basic expenses, the financial loss has forced her to forego some of the travel and leisure activities she had hoped to enjoy in her post-work life. In her pursuit of justice, Marjorie filed a lawsuit against PNC Bank in May 2022, seeking full financial restitution and other damages, including interest and attorney's fees. She argued that the bank failed to act on obvious red flags and textbook evidence of financial exploitation when processing her wire transfer requests. However, legal experts cautioned that such lawsuits are rarely successful, and they hinge on complex federal and state rules governing banking and elder financial fraud. Marjorie's case highlighted the distinction between authorized and unauthorized banking transactions. In her situation, since she initiated the wire transfers herself, they were considered authorized, and these transactions offer weaker customer protections. The bank's role is limited, and the distinction between protecting a client and respecting their autonomy can be challenging to navigate. Furthermore, wire transfers have weaker protections compared to other electronic fund transfers, as they are exempt from the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, a federal consumer protection law. The Bank Secrecy Act, which sets standards for banks to detect and prevent financial crimes, does not provide individual customers with a legal remedy to recover losses due to criminal activities. While some states have enacted elder protection laws to shield older adults from financial fraud, these laws vary widely in scope. In Marjorie's case, Maryland law required banks to report suspected elder fraud, suggesting that employees should have received training to identify such activity. However, the bank did not adequately investigate or question Marjorie's atypical wire transfer, and she lost everything. In February, a judge in the District of Columbia dismissed the negligence claim but allowed the claim for breach of contract to move forward in court. Eventually, Bloom and the bank settled the lawsuit in September. Both declined to disclose the terms of the agreement, and we really don't know what happened after that, but some sort of settlement was made.